Call meeting to order. We do have a quorum. Take a motion to approve the agenda in the minutes, please.
So moved.
There's a motion. I'll second that. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion will carry. Morning, Rich.
Morning, how are you guys?
Good, how are you?
Not too bad. Few updates for you. Got some final plans due next week on the Tuesday. One of them is for 350th Street box culvert, and then the other one's for the 105 paving project. I know we're talking about financing and whatnot. Like I said before, we can still, we'll put the projects through, and if financing doesn't happen, we can always pull it from the letting. It's not detrimental to know right now, but we will need to know before the letting, which will be in March. So probably a month before March would be nice to know. So we'll get that stuff taken care of. I probably won't have any title sheets for you to sign this week, obviously, because you don't have them with you. Maybe next week if you're going to have a meeting next week. I won't be here next week, but I can always send you the title sheets, or we can wait to. I can always submit the title sheets any day. So that being said, I know the guys are out brush cutting and doing some spot blading where they need to. Do you have any questions on secondary road stuff? Because I got a few things. Oh, and I can tell you that it sounds like that drainage district project number 13, is that the one just east of town?
Yeah, with all the trees.
Oh,
Well, there's a bunch of pipe and culverts and stuff. That big, is it 13, or am I on a different one?
Oh, let's see.
Coal excavating and
Yeah, Cole's doing that one out east of town.
east of town.
did I say west?
He said,
No, you said east, yep.
that's right.
Oh,
Cole's
yeah.
doing it.
Coal excavating is starting that this week. They're gonna start tearing into the roads and replacing the big culverts.
Okay.
I told the consultant, I talked to him last week, and I said, whatever we can do to salvage them, we want. I know there's one that's a rail car pipe that really, that thing should last forever. So I told them if they can, I mean, I think there's only about a foot difference in elevation because the ditch has been cleaned so many times and lowered, but I told them if they couldn't use it, that I wanted to salvage it and use it somewhere else. So we're gonna try to hold on to some of that stuff, but just to let you know that they're starting that project this week. They're also, continuing to move cranes out on the wind tower project. They're going to be moving a couple today. They did a road crossing, I think, last week, and as much effort as they put into trying to save the road, they ended up deforming the edges a little bit. So I'm going to make them fix that when they're done. But one other thing I have is Gene Severson on DD1 contacted me 2 weeks ago, and there's a culvert going underneath Mallard that flows to the west, and the water goes through his field. And he wanted to know if we would clean the ditch deeper to keep the water in the ditch to go south. And I said, we don't over excavate our ditches to change the natural flow, but if he wanted to, he could ditch on his side, or he could run a tile or whatever. I had Russ and Al go out and do a little quick survey in the ditch, and it's not as clean cut. And he thought it'd be like a foot dig, but if we put some slope on it to get it down there, we're talking anywhere up to 5 feet deep in a high point. And that really kind of kicks it out into the right of way a little bit to keep our side slopes. So I'm going to write a letter back to him so that he's been contacted and just let him know, hey, look, we can't do this. We won't do this. The natural flow is that way. And I'll have aerial photography and stuff to show where the natural waterway is. But his kind of his, not complaint so much, but his reasoning he wanted the ditch clean is because in this day and age, water shouldn't have to flow. And the way farming is, water shouldn't have to flow through fields anymore. But I guess the natural flow is through his field. So that's where it's going to go unless he does something on his own property. So just to give you a heads up in case something comes up out of it, I'm going to try to send him a letter this week and get him, just let him know what's happening.
Sounds good. Anything for Rich?
Anything for me?
No.
Good.
Not right now.
Nope, I think we're good for now.
All right, we'll stick around.
Need something?
You
You guys open?
Yep,
What?
absolutely.
Good.
No, I just stopped up to the office. I was gonna touch base with Russ. He's been communicating out.
DD2 out here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so kind of walked out there over the weekend.
Okay.
I don't know who did it, but kind of cleaned up an area out there.
I thought Rugness did it, I was told. Maybe I'm.
Well,
is that something?
yeah, they've been doing
Oh,
the,
somebody, I think,
was it
what's his
Lau?
no. I was talking to him last week.
Schroeder?
Yes, there you go.
He
Supposedly he
cleaned
was
up?
doing some cleaning up out there.
Okay. That was the problem, was just getting access onto his ground.
Yes, right now, to get that other beaver, another beaver dam in on his
Yeah,
ground.
there was 3 in there. We took them out,
Okay,
and of course,
they came back.
they came back.
Trapped 5 beaver out of there, I think.
Yeah, I heard a half dozen
Yep, so,
got out of there, but then they moved their dam in just over in the line into on his land.
his land, okay,
But anyway, somebody cleaned a bunch of brush and trees out of there, so a guy can actually track across Chris Lau's
okay,
and access the ditch bank now, so
okay.
to pull that out of
Instead
there.
of going through his pasture and taking the fence
Yep,
down.
instead of going around, so there's just
Okay,
one string of barbed wire in there to take apart, and it's a
Okay.
gate, so a guy
Yep.
can get right in there, so.
okay.
Was that the one where we had kind of he didn't want us to go through his property to get to the waterway,
Right.
even though we have kind of well, I didn't know if we
We
were.
have easement.
What's that?
Even though we have easement,
Right. So I didn't know if there was, I know that Russ was working with him on trying to say, hey, look, we need to get here. It's going to cost more money if we have to start cutting brush and charging it back to the district. But Bob, you said that it's been taken, the brush is gone? Or is
Yeah,
there-
just along the fence line, they pushed a bunch to pile up, and then, I don't know what it looked like before.
I never was down there, Russ has been
Yeah.
running down there and
Yep.
stuff, so.
But now it's accessible now.
Okay,
So I mean, just the thing is now whether Schroeder is okay with going on
yeah,
his land. I don't know the guy.
well, I don't know him either. I chatted with him a little bit.
Uh-huh.
I know it's been a touchy subject, but
Was concerned about his fence and how some other tree had been cut down, of course, years ago, and you know how they grow back, and it was leaning over his fence, and I just said, well, I mean, the reality is that whole ditch needs to be cleaned, trees, at least the trees. I don't know about dipping it out, that is, but
I think the flow is
the flow is good.
okay.
It's just so full of trees.
Yeah.
And beaver dams go all the way up to.
And everybody else has been Jonah Tasker, and I don't even know the people. It's a Whitesell farm.
Okay. It's out of my area too,
Yeah.
over here, Bob, but as it
but I
goes
mean,
up.
That west side really isn't all that bad as far as accessibility.
Okay,
A little tree cleaning up on the top. Yeah, there's trees there to who laid the rail, but the thing of it is getting accessibility in there.
right,
If people it's either that or you got to track across after the crops are out.
right.
It's just the accessibility is the problem.
Yeah, well, we did, that's one reason we reclassified that, was to get easements and take care of all that.
Yeah,
I think, so.
and I don't know if that was, I don't know what like the drainage laws are, how much.
I think I would assume we took 100-foot easements. I would
Usually that's
assume,
what it is,
Yeah.
yeah, 100 feet, yeah.
without pulling up the book and stuff, but
Okay.
yeah.
So,
That was all done just last summer, wasn't it, spring?
Last year.
whether or not you took easement, there's still got to be there's still some right of way there for maintenance purposes. Whether or not there's an actual easement there, they at least got to give you enough room for the equipment to get in and do it. But
Yeah,
if
we
you,
bought right away or whatever, yeah.
you
no,
guys have done something with easement there, then then there's really not a lot to say about it.
Sure, we just reclassified the whole district because it was a mess, and that's one thing they did, I'm pretty positive, so.
Yeah, make sure the right of way was there.
and I don't know if it's something that, if just a notification to landowners that, we do have, just a reminder that we,
We did,
sent out that we have, we just need accessibility
right,
whenever it's called for. If
Right.
that's just an easy fix for it right now, maybe,
Could be.
so,
right, you gotta get the dams out of there right now
yeah.
I mean, even if you went through the process of getting it on the list to clean, before you can go through all the hearings and stuff, that's gonna be next year. So, but you gotta make it work before spring,
Yeah,
otherwise you're gonna have real problems.
right. I mean, it's just, it's good the beaver are out of there. They
Yeah.
were able to trap them out. And
Yeah.
that'll help. But I just didn't know if it's clear for Rugness to get in there and take out that last dam, or
I guess I had to talk to Rusty when I leave here. I gotta talk to him about
he's
something
gone
else.
for the week. So.
Russ is
okay.
around the week, so Al might be a little bit informed up there.
He didn't seem to know either.
I was gonna say, Russ.
Well,
has
we've been trying to keep our distance between all three of us, so.
That's okay. Yeah, that's okay. I just had something else I was gonna ask him about, but that's no big deal. And, I guess we can deal with it next week when he gets back too, but
Okay.
as far as I know, Elliot called me about something this weekend too, and it
Oh,
was
yeah.
taking a beaver dam out, and then there was a slough somewhere, but I don't know if that was farther up or what, but
On DD2 out here?
yeah,
Oh, really? Okay.
I could call him back or check his message.
That's not, is that stuff over by John Tennell's?
I don't think that's been touched yet,
That
because
hasn't
Russ
either.
and I talked about that. He said, when Jerry's there, do you want him? I said, whoever gets up there and gets it done.
He seemed interested in doing that as soon as we got done over
Yeah.
here, because he used a long stick, you know.
So maybe Elliot went up, was gonna take care of that, because there was some slough somewhere too, and like I said, he
Oh.
wanted to pull that up, so maybe it's a different ditch.
Like I said,
Yeah, I don't know without checking the message there, but
so.
I just told him to get it done.
Anyway, like I said, I don't know who did the clearing or whatever, but it would be actually on that Whitesell farm,
Okay,
but I didn't know if Chris Lau just cleaned up that corner.
could be, yeah, could be.
I
I
wouldn't even know
know,
how to contact her.
because Schroeder was upset, because he said, I'm gonna have to go do a whole bunch of picking up and cleaning up and on wherever they went through his problem. I said, I
Yeah.
don't know how it all lays out there without
Right,
looking
yeah.
flat,
I
but
mean, it's just a kind of a corner of his.
yeah, maybe Rudness just pushed it back with a cap.
No,
No?
it wouldn't have been Jerry. No,
Okay.
they didn't do it. Somebody did it with a skid loader.
Oh,
It wasn't that, you know, they
not that much stuff.
2-3 hours of, you know, chainsaw and pushing up and with a
Okay.
skid loader, and that's good enough, so.
Okay.
Anyway, like I said, everybody else has been pretty amicable about
Yeah,
getting on there and stuff, and I think they just realized that, yeah, it's gotta be done, just go do it. And,
Okay.
you know, just work through it, I guess, so.
well, yeah, keep the water flowing,
That's right.
Yeah,
so,
it's about, you know, it's maybe dropping about 2 foot, this dam, so.
okay.
Where the other one is probably 4 foot.
Yeah.
Backing up, but it is backing it up, so. you
Right.
know, when it's in a dry spell like this, you really,
Yeah, whoever, I guess, Russ has been contacting the guys. I mean,
Yeah.
whoever can get in there and get it done is,
Yep.
to me, I don't,
shouldn't be a problem.
makes no difference for
Yep,
repair like that, or I
Right.
just call it repair.
yep,
Get
just
that
gotta
done.
have accessibility, so.
Yep, so, okay.
Good.
good
All right, thanks, guys.
Thanks, Bob.
See you later.
All right. So since we're on that drainage discussion, do we want to send notices to landowners about
Well, I think it needs to,
cleaning?
yeah, I think it needs to be done. Like I say, that we know that ditch is in bad shape. We knew it when we reclassified it. That's one reason we reclassified it, was that it would be fair going forward if somebody did come in and request it. But
Mhm.
that's pretty tough to get somebody to request it, but
Right. So I guess now then, are we just looking at getting those dams out for now, or do we need to?
we need to get the dams out for sure and keep them out. You know, there's no way you'd get this on a project list before next spring anyway. I mean,
Right.
it's-
Right.
At the minimum, you're probably looking, after with budget and everything, you know, if we start the process, you'd be lucky if you have a first hearing until April. So this would go on a bid letting next summer and then probably next fall, but
Right.
gonna have to stay after the beaver dams
Yeah,
until
yeah.
that, so.
Yeah.
I think we need to get it on the list and, you know, let the people know that it needs to be done, and
Okay.
I guess then they can go through the objection process if they want, or if they want it cleaned, they can.
Right.
You know, there wasn't that many that came in for the reclassification.
Right.
And once we were done with that.
Have they seen the
were
bills
pretty
for that
happy.
yet?
What's that?
Have they seen the bills for that yet?
I don't know. I don't. I would
Take
assume.
Let me make up their mind or not on
I
whether
think
they
they have. haven't
should have been
they? They should
probably.
have got that. That shouldn't have been too bad.
That might make up their mind on whether they want to do something different or not, but.
Yeah, I think you need to get it on, at least give them the notice and, you know, start the process. And I guess if,
Yeah.
like say, I will not be, you know, I'm not gonna be part of it. It'll be
Right.
you and the two. new
Well, like I
guys.
say, we'd have to just send letters out for a landowner meeting.
Yep.
That's what Jackie's saying too. Do a landowner meeting and see what they want to do or don't want to do and go from there, so.
We know it's a mess. Like I say, we got some, I know there's some drone footage of it
Mhm.
that we could bring up and show, and
We could even fly it again if you wanted to.
wouldn't hurt.
Got the new one, right?
Yeah, I got the new one and it's got, you know, the weather safety batteries on it, so we can pick her up.
Practice.
Okay.
Very good.
Yeah, if you kind of know what you flew before, maybe fly the rest or,
We can fly a good chunk of it.
you know, and see what. Yeah. I guess that get us a little more info on it too.
Yeah.
weather's supposed to be decent this week, so I think we can get up.
That'd be great.
And we can talk with Russ a little bit next week too when he's back, I guess, and see what's the whole story is.
Yeah.
If he's been dealing with them.
See, I know Rugness was one that was out there, and like I say, without checking my message from Elliot, I'm not sure which one he said right off the top of my head now. So he's doing something somewhere, so.
Yeah, well, I think we'll just plan on that as
Yep.
far as, maybe send out some postcards and see what everybody says. If they want to can move forward, if not, either way, the repairs gotta be made. Keep
Yeah.
moving, so.
Hey guys, do you know a specific date on that?
For a meeting for.
Yeah. 'Cause I'd want to put that in a letter.
Yeah,
Like January or February sometime.
well. You want more to do?
Yeah,
Well-
2020 calendar.
Yeah, I would say January, late January, early February, probably, right?
Yeah, let's go like, try that second week of February.
Okay.
See what happens there. See if we can do it on a Monday.
Yep.
8th maybe, and then see what kind of response we get, and we'll figure it out from there, I guess.
Now you want all of 2 or just the main or?
Well,
What-
DD2
what-
Main for sure, Jackie, and I mean, I guess, then that could morph into a bigger project if somebody has a lateral ditch or something that's the same situation. I just know DD2 Main is pretty much a mess.
Yeah, and I'll get together with Russ probably and
So, I would start with DD2 Main and then see what happens, because I'm sure most people own ground in both laterals and,
And if there is a lateral, maybe they'll speak up then about, moving, this lateral, that lateral needs to be cleaned as well, so.
Yeah.
Okay. Start with that, I guess.
that work?
Yep.
Okay.
Thank you. We don't have any drainage claims this week. Regular claims. Did you look through those, Mark? I'm assuming?
Yes, I'll make a motion to approve the regular claims.
Right, there's a motion to approve regular claims. I'll second that motion. Any other discussion? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion will carry. And then also
Special
a
claims.
special claim for engineer.
I'll make a motion to approve the special claims for the engineer's office.
All right, there's a motion to approve the special claim. I'll second that motion. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion will carry. All right, reports. I think I saw reports in there.
there's a couple of reports.
Sheriffs and clerk of court.
Making a motion to approve the reports.
All right, motion to approve the reports from the sheriff's office and clerk of court. I'll second that motion. Any other discussion? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion will carry. Payroll eligibility.
A couple of those two, right?
Sheriff's got two employees, one for Crystal Thompson.
One's me.
Huh?
One's Jackie said.
Oh, one for you? Oh, I'm sorry.
Crystal is.
Crystal is.
Oh, cool.
I hope so, because she's here today.
Okay.
Yeah, one for the auditor's office, one for the sheriff's office, and then Michaela Tucker for, I think, jailer dispatch. So.
Approve these with one motion, is that okay?
Yep.
Okay, I'll make a motion to approve the claims, or the
Zero.
payroll claims, thank you.
Payroll,
Eligibility.
Eligibility, there we go. All right, motion to approve payroll eligibility, I'll second that motion. Any other discussion? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion will carry.
Need some more room. bigger office and you're not even here.
Yeah.
All right. There's that. Liquor license. Come and go.
Motion to approve liquor license for the Come and Go.
All right, there's a motion to approve liquor license for Come and Go. I'll second that motion. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion will carry. You sign that? Does Mark sign that one or just me?
Just you, I think.
Just me?
Just you.
And then she signs it.
No, she
Okay.
does. All right. 12, acknowledge receipt of second judicial district Department of Correctional Services fiscal 20 annual program report. Just an annual acknowledgement. They sent the report to us and we just gotta file it
Okay.
for our 2080 agreement, so.
It's a motion to acknowledge is the receipt. Is that what we're doing?
Yep.
Okay.
There's a motion to acknowledge receipt of the second judicial district, and I will second that motion. Any other discussion? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion will carry. Agreement of services between Worth County and the Pathology Associates of Mason City. So is that just an annual update? Or annual
Yes.
agreement, I guess, right? I saw that come through an email.
Oh, yeah. It's the renewal if you want to do it the same as it has been. I wonder if you guys want to discuss it with her at all because, like what Dan has talked about too, they put in another layer and I haven't really understood why that all happened, but it did. They don't do autopsies at Mason City anymore from what I hear. And so now with some deaths, like if an older person passes away, the sheriff used to just be able to have somebody say, or call in and they'd just ask a few questions and then they'd take them to the funeral home or whatever. But now we have to have this medical investigator come, and that's $210 every pop. So I don't know if that's, and then we still pay $350 for the report that the medical examiner has to do. So I don't know if that's just something new that has to happen, or I don't know if you want to talk with her or not, or just roll with it. I don't know.
Don't have a lot of choice, do we?
That's.
Probably not.
I mean, that's kind of what I'm getting, but
Yeah.
Sure, it's a state mandated thing, obviously. It always appears to be that way.
and we don't have any other choices really, do we?
For
Any-
options,
Options,
everything, you
choices?
gotta have a pathologist.
Right.
Do all that, so.
Gonna get your
Barely-
PhD maybe?
What's that?
Get your PhD maybe? I don't know.
Put it on my schedule.
Yeah.
I
I think it's the only game in town as far as I know.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, we gotta have it,
Gotta have
unfortunately.
it.
So I'll take a motion to agree to approve the agreement of services between North County and the Pathology Associates.
I'll make that motion.
There's a motion. I will second that. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? That motion will carry. We will continue to use the only game in town for that stuff.
Shelley.
Shelley, CEO of Eldridge Agency on Aging, budget request. It's not quite
Good
right.
morning.
We'll take you. We'll
Yeah.
take you.
Okay, good morning. It is so nice to see all of you. I've been the CEO for several years, but usually Sherry Bodecker, my Chief Financial Officer, comes and visits you. And as you know, with the COVID-19, the clients we serve are the most at risk for adverse events. So we are limiting our travel and limiting our contact with folks so that we can stay healthy enough to serve our clients. And we're doing all of our services remotely. So all my staff is working remotely. I'm in the office today, but I'm the only one here. You know, I just want to present, you've always supported us so very, very well, and we appreciate that. You should have gotten our annual report in the mail. Okay. And had a chance to look at that. As you know, this year has been very unusual, but I'm very proud to say that our agency was well prepared for an emergency situation. Nobody was prepared for a pandemic, but we were prepared and had our plans in place. So we very quickly were able to move to a remote working environment and continue to provide services. The other thing I'm so proud of is we're the only area agency on aging here in Iowa who continue to have our meal sites functioning. Everybody else kind of shut down and went to all frozen meals. Fortunately for us, our subcontractors said, yeah, we'll keep preparing meals. We aren't going to congregate. We do not. We still have our congregate sites closed, but for home delivered and takeout meals, our subcontractors have continued to deliver that service. And our request for services has gone up significantly this year. You know that I'm sure you know we received some federal stimulus dollars. And they were much needed, and we're not going to be able to even sustain them through July or June 30th of this year at the current service levels we're doing, just because our meal requests and demand have gone up so significantly. So a good example is this fiscal year, we expended $26,347 more in Worth County than we did last year. And I can tell you that is primarily with the meal needs. We've done frozen meals. If we can't get them hot meals, we'll get them frozen meals. We just got a grant. I just got notice this morning of a community foundation grant for Worth County for $6,000. And we use those funds for direct material aid assistance. So if someone needs help with their electric bill so that they do not get a shut off, or they need some kind of modification in their home, they need grab bars, those kinds of things, then we're able to help them with that grant dollars. I'm pretty innovative, and so our agency, we write for as many grants as we possibly can, that we can then turn around and fund services for folks above and beyond what we would get federally and from you county boards. So we also held a virtual fundraiser back in July. We had to postpone it, and then we went to virtual. And it was basically a live auction, and we raised over $10,000, and that went to home delivered meals in a couple of our counties who were producing more than we had funded them, and they needed the money. So we're planning our next fundraiser for April, and doing the same kind of thing. So I was looking at this. Did you get this page also that shows you the different services that we provided to Worth County and how many and what our total service delivery funding was to Worth County? And if you look at the second page, you provided us with funding of $5,347 last year. which was $2.95 per senior in your county. This year, we're asking for $3 per senior, so we're asking for a little bit more, $5,628. But the return on investment is the part I really wanted to point out. For every dollar that you funded us, we provided $50.37 worth of services to the seniors. Worth County is our highest return on investment county, which tells me that you have providers in your county who truly care about serving seniors, and they reach out to us for funding. And Worth County Health Department does a lot of service that we help fund: personal care and homemaker service and respite care. So I guess I'll just stop there and let you ask me any questions you might have.
Well, thanks for what you do. I know it's been a tough year, especially on that, and it's good to see that the Meals on Wheels can keep going at least. I know without having all the congregate places open, but at least you can continue to get these people their meals. That's a really good thing. And yeah, I really like the Ridge Agency. They are a good organization.
Yep.
So I'm glad you guys are working hard trying to find extra money too. You know, that's a good thing that shows that you guys care about our seniors as well.
I'm always looking for more money, always, because we never can meet the demand everybody has, and those needs. But I think because of the diversified funding sources, we've been able to maintain and increase services where others maybe haven't been able to do that. It's not that I'm not asking the Congress to do another stimulus, because our seniors still need to have their food security met, and they still need to stay home and safe until, the vaccine gets widely distributed. And I'm a nurse, so I'm pretty, I keep a close eye on that. So we don't want to have to reduce any services. We want to continue at the level of need. So down the road here, we're going to need as our counties and states, going to need that additional federal funding to do that. But we're very grateful for the support we do get and for the funding we do have to help our older folks age in place.
Good.
Perfect. Any questions?
Nope, I'm good.
Well, we will
Put it on the list.
consider your request, and we'll try to work it into our budget. We won't know until obviously after the first year how it goes, but we'll definitely try to get you that money. So
Thank you very much, and thanks for all your support in the past too. It was good to see you. Well,
All
I
right,
guess
thank you.
see two of you, but it's good to see.
All right, thank you, Shelley. We appreciate it.
Thanks so much. Bye-bye.
Yep.
All right, Jeff's not gonna be on for a little bit.
Discussion on safety training.
Yeah, safety training discussion.
Okay. I wanted that on the agenda. I'm on the safety committee, and you will be, Gary. And we all know that our cost of workman's comp went up here this past year quite a bit. There's a lot of safety stuff being offered, and I don't think anybody's really taking advantage of it like they should. Online training courses, things like that. Kind of talked a little bit with Jackie about it. I don't know if there's a way we can make it mandatory, that kind of like cyber training, you kind of require that we all take that course. And, maybe the safety training should be mandatory. I don't know how you work that into the day-to-day schedule, or if you ask people to do that after their hours. But,
It needs to start from the top, and they'd need to be paid for the time that it took to do it.
Okay.
Right, and that's what I'm wondering, is if we could take, is if we get something, take small groups into EOC or something. And if it's online, if it's a 2-hour deal, have them go sit through it 2 hours one day, and then, just move groups of, 5 or 6 people at a time through there to do that.
Right.
And obviously, yeah, pay them to do it.
Yeah, I think that's a big deal is to have them do it during work hours. That's something that you have to do.
Well, IMWCA offers a lot of things to look at, and there's been some other stuff that Mark Tomlinson's here been posting, and we haven't had any biters on these classes. And I think we need to I don't know if we're gonna need to make it mandatory or what, but I think something needs to be done. I think that would help with the cost of the workman's comp going forward. I know when Brad's been here, Brad, don't have his last name, Brad's on the IMWC. He's always said, we offer all this stuff, and if you guys put forth the effort, that's going to help with your premiums. And if they don't see we're putting forth an effort, we're probably not going to change our premiums very quickly. And something we need to do.
Unless we have 5 good years of
No
injuries
nothing.
type
Well,
stuff.
that's probably not going to happen.
Right.
So, and it's not just secondary roads or the sheriff department, it's all departments, the slips, trips and falls and, sitting at your desk too long and, having issues. It could be carpal tunnel, any of that stuff, if you're not paying attention to what you're doing and taking care of yourself, it's, that's all part of workman's comp. So,
And the safety committee needs to get more active too.
Yep.
And I think it's something that is just gonna have to be mandatory,
Right.
quarterly. At least, like say if it's 2 or 3 hour online thing, and if, and then if we're able to in the future get back together as groups, well, you can go after, we can get somebody to bring somebody into secondary roads or bring somebody into the sheriff's office or whatever to
Speakers or
on-site training type or whatever.
I know like Brad will come up anytime we want him to do training, especially for certain departments, I think.
I know here in Mitchell County, they have our insurance carrier. It's quarterly, I think it is, and they just come in, they schedule it, and we have conservation and secondary roads. They use our room, and they just schedule every year. They've got their own agenda, and the insurance. It's nice because they kind of take care of the scheduling for us. They just do it quarterly, and it just happens. Whereas it'd be nice to get set up on a system where, hey, look, the insurance company says, hey, look, time for our quarterly. Here's what our agenda is going to be. When can we come do it? That'd be nice. That way it's a lot less for us to remember to try to schedule and try to take care of. But I don't know if our insurance carrier does something like that or not. I mean, yeah, you can
I think they would. You need to talk to Brad or to Lisa down there at the IMWCA. I think they'll work with you on that. And they probably help you out real well with that. Like I say, all departments go on, look to see what fits your department and talk with Lisa and Brad or whoever down there, and they should be able to line that stuff up.
Because what's nice is the individual come in, do training, and they'll do I don't know if it'll be, it's a couple hours, but they'll have classroom session, and then they'll say, let's go out to the shop and let's look at your ladders, and we'll do an hands-on thing and say, here's what we need. It gets everybody involved other than just sitting in front of a screen all the time and listening to somebody talk. It's a really cool thing. It's just everybody gets involved. You get involved and you kind of go through the motions instead of just watching a screen. But I don't know if our carrier does something like that. I would hope they would.
Right, they probably would. I'm sure they would. So yeah, we just have to get with workman's comp people and
see what they're,
Right.
until this COVID stuff slows down, that's going to be a little tougher, but I'm sure we can do Zoom meetings or anything like that with that too for now.
yeah,
And then hopefully as this calms down coming on in the next summer, then you could get them up here and actually do some on-site visits, talk directly with the employees face to face, hopefully, and
Yep.
give them some direction.
And we are having our first one with Lisa today and next Monday at 10:30
Okay.
for workman's comp, kind of a 101, and then hopefully we can get into it a little more in depth next Monday.
Okay.
And that's for all department heads, and they've all been notified about it.
Good.
Or their person that they want to watch it.
Okay.
well, fantastic.
You sent us an email, or was an email sent on that? I think.
Pretty sure.
Yeah.
no, that's where we gotta start, I guess, and then we can just, after the first year, just plan on doing it quarterly. Like I say, the amount of workman's comp went up last year was ungodly, so.
Well, and if you go to that online thing, maybe there's a suggested list per office or something. I haven't had time to look that deep into it, but there might already be something there.
Probably more, yeah, like job-specific type stuff.
Yeah.
Obviously, office personnel aren't gonna be running chainsaws.
No,
That kind of stuff, so maybe there's a little something more specific to them.
yep.
But if we had somebody that could dig into that stuff a little bit to give the department head some direction, that would be kind of nice.
They have an online university here, it says, under their loss control, you go there. So there's gotta be some stuff on there. It's not taking me there right now for some reason, but
You might need a password to get in.
yeah, it's not even doing that. It's not changing pages right now on their site, so, at the moment.
Did, or when is the next safety committee meeting? Any idea?
We don't, yeah, there it is. Okay. Probably nothing scheduled until, probably should be something scheduled the first year when Gary comes on and, you know.
Okay.
Or,
All right, well.
And I did send you that information for that, what was it, lockout, tagout? Is that what that is?
yeah,
Because that looked like a simple, quick one that whoever needed it could do if it would be beneficial or not. I don't know.
Sure. Well, definitely. A lot of people have probably seen it 10 times, but it's still the point of refreshing on it too, once in a while, because it's not
Right.
something that gets done all the time, so you don't, may
But
not
it's a-
necessarily know how to do it
But
properly.
it's a perception thing too, and if you get a list of who watched it and keep track of it and show that to Brad, that helps.
Yep, definitely. I definitely agree. All right, anything else on the safety for now?
I know years ago, we did put out some videos on our YouTube channel that we had the employees watch, so
okay.
that's been
Right.
Long time.
4 or 5 years ago.
It was before I was on
Oh, more than that then. Yeah,
Well, I just,
time flies.
with everybody being scattered all over the place, we could get them to just come up to the EOC and do that.
Easy enough to do.
Take a day, you could just get them set up and
Boom, boom, boom.
have, you know, like say 5, 6 at a time, replay it. They can do it. Get it over with, because I'm sure they'll be going, well, supposed to probably go to Nyakog in February or March, secondary roads is. I don't know if that'll happen now, person or not.
Probably virtual, I would
It
assume.
might be a virtual thing, so we might have some virtual trainings for the next 6 to 9 months or longer, so.
They actually work just as well, I think,
Yeah.
you know, other than if you're gonna do some hands-on out in a shop or out in whatever, but
And can we get an agenda to that when it comes or whatever, so that can be shared with Brad, so they know what kind of training they're getting there?
I don't think they know. Well, I've never seen one anyway, Jackie, but I would think they would give something.
Yeah, they should have something they could say what they would discuss in that program, because they always had a tendency to change it every year, so
So
it
it's
wasn't the same
interesting,
4 or
right.
5 topics, but that's what they'll do, usually is 4 or 5 topics during that thing, so I'm sure if there is one, they could send that itinerary of what they went through when they did it, so.
Yep.
But I guess we'll see if they even have one first of all, and then go from there if they do, so. All right, Jeff Isle on, does he want on?
Well, I don't know if he was gonna get on or he was coming in.
Well,
Speak of the,
There he is.
your ears ringing there, Mr. Howell?
You're just,
Good morning.
come on in.
Pull up a
You
chair.
have Kenny's chair.
All right.
Morning, Jeff.
Good morning. Good morning, good morning. It's a cold one.
Is it? Sunshine.
Well, compared to all the month, all of
Okay.
a sudden we got winter again.
Yeah.
Today anyways, right? Right?
So, yes.
Well, Jeff, we asked you up here for a reason, I guess, or Mark.
Yeah, we just kind of want to get you in front of people again and kind of see what looking at and possibilities, I think we were discussing using some TIF funds for the 105
Mhm.
if it's available. And just things we can use it for going forward. I mean, you're basically going to be looking at pretty much an all new board, other than AJ's got a couple years under his belt starting the first of the year. And I think there's a couple potential candidates that are online watching this right now too, looks like, and
Okay.
for Kenny's seat. So to kind of get a little refresher course or a little understanding what TIF does for us, I think.
Absolutely.
So
So, did, Jackie, did you get those printed? Those papers I
Oh.
sent?
Not for the board, sorry.
Can someone go print, I got a copy, can
I can do it, Jackie.
Okay. Okay, I got copies of this. Need a copy of this. And I got print those.
Those are separate ones, right?
Yeah, no, yeah, just
One of those?
just
Okay.
one of those. And then,
Yeah, okay.
okay, is the new supervisor?
this is one of them right here. This will be Gary.
Gary?
Hanson. This is
Jeff
White.
Hall, Motion
Nice to meet
Security. Pleasure to meet you. Congratulations.
Well, there you go.
Yeah. So,
We won't have the next one until January, whenever, 19th or whatever, so special election.
well, you got a good county to work in. I work in a lot of counties and, I see all different types of operations and you've got a good foundation for this county. It's very well. So is Rich, did he leave?
Nope, Rich is online.
Is he?
He's there.
Say hi, Rich.
He's quiet. He's muting himself.
Hello, I'm here.
Okay, Rich, I was wondering if you were, because one of the things, I'm gonna talk about here until we get these printed is, your capital projects that you need in the next few years.
Yep.
Yeah.
So we need to get some, ideas of all of the, your road projects plus what else, there's definitely needs here in the courthouse, but, so we want to get an idea of those, because we do have some TIF balances that we gotta look at.
Yep.
And then we look at what we're gonna be doing with, the remaining wind turbine TIF that we currently have, so.
Mhm.
So I suppose you got some idea, don't you, Rich?
Well, we've got our 5-year program and things like that we're looking at. And in the past, it's always been, budget for what we have money for, which usually there's not enough money and plenty of other things to do. I know that right now we're borrowed ahead in our farm to market account far enough that we really won't have any projects, be able to do any projects for, quite a while. They only allow us a 3-year borrow ahead and a 3-year stockpile of money. Stockpile's a general term. We can build up our fund account up to 3 years, but can only, typically the law was borrow 5 years ahead, but they were at discretion of the DOT, depending on how funding is, they put limitations on it. And so far we're at a limitation of 3-year borrow ahead. So it doesn't give us a whole lot of money in a balance to deal with. I was just going to pull up our funding balance as it currently sits. So if you want to give me a second.
Sure. She's gonna make some more copies here, so. I guess really what, like, looking at that this morning, I guess what I'd really like to go over is I've got basically your whole financial debt book.
Right.
Shows what your basically position is.
Okay.
We're gonna look at basically the current TIF, plus if we'd amend in the new 76 towers.
Yep.
What that impact's gonna be.
Okay.
And pros and cons of all that, and then you do have an outstanding debt right now, the 2012, and what she's making copies of that. It's available to be refinancing and saving several $1,000s.
Okay.
But maybe we want to pay it off because we do have some funds, and we want to
Talked
look.
about-
That's why I want to ask Rich is, what does he have for immediate, 18 months out, where to do road projects if you have to do something? Do you want to use those cash reserves to go on those projects, or do you want to refinance the debt and save? I forget. She went to do it. I'll show you what the savings is if we go to refinance.
Depends on what interest is gonna do in the next 6 months. Is it
But-
gonna stay even, decline, go up tad, after the first year? We don't know that. Sounds like they want to print some money, so.
I know what, this interest market is just,
it's
I
not-
mean, I've been in this business a lot, and I don't understand it. I mean, we got so cheap of money that, and at the same time, the government's printing, bailing out trillions. And it's like, you put all this out there, you think it's gonna go
Sometimes it should go
up.
eventually.
But, we could refinance, a 2.5% deal, but down to less than 1. Well, yeah, it's.
That's where some savings go.
Well, I got notification from my bank, CDs are like 0.25%, and I can sign up right now.
Did you jump on that?
I mean, you've got to go out 10 years to get a 1% on a CD.
Right.
To just get a 1.
Yep.
It's nuts. So what she hands out, this one, it's called the Worth County Debt Book.
I'm good.
This is sort of a big picture that I want to go over with where are you sitting in the big picture world.
Good.
Okay? And anytime, I'm going over here, anybody got any questions? Gary, if you got any questions, stop me. And because this is something, the first page 2, this is sort of the historical valuations of where you've been. And if you look at the upper left-hand corner, we see that we're 5.7, 5.4, 100% growth. That's before your rollbacks. You're at a 5.73 over since 2008. In the taxable, after the rollbacks, you're at a 5.4, which is an average county in Iowa. If we took a median, is about 3.6 or 7. So Worth County is a couple percent better growth than the average. So that just sort of gives you a picture of that. Any questions on that before we go next page? The others are just charts and the rollbacks. That's a whole different, we could talk how long on how rollback works. But this here, page 3, is sort of the big picture map. That left column is your actual valuation, is 1.2,999,000. I need to get my glasses. And so then the green column, that's the legal statutory amount by law that you can borrow general obligation debt by the state of Iowa, which is 5% of that number to the left. So legally, you can borrow $59 million. When we look at counties as a whole, I have a lot of cities that are up to their debt limits, but counties have so much more value. Most of the time, what we look at is 10 to 30%. And if you see at yours clear at the left or at the right, we're at 22% of our debt capacity, and we're going down at a pretty good rate. Next year will be 18%, 16% on down. And so in the middle, under the gold, these are your three outstanding debt issues. You got 2015 issue, 2014, 2012. And I'm going to show you this morning, the 2012 is available to refinance if you want to. And I've talked to Jackie about this, the pros and cons if we refinance or if we use, use the TIF funds to pay it off. And that'll be something I'm working with Jackie on to find out exactly where those balances are so that you as a board can make a decision whether some of Rich projects you want to use this money for, or do you want to refinance and, pay it off. Any questions on how this page sort of works? The third column to the right, is the total, that's your total debt that we've got. And you can see, how aggressively in the next 3-4 years, we're getting that down paid off very rapidly.
So as of right now, you're saying that total debt.
Yep.
That we have TIF funds that have been used over the years is $13 million.
That's what we have left to pay.
Left to pay off right now?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what's outstanding as of right now.
Yeah, and then that will obviously drop as
time goes on.
goes on, as our payments go.
Yes,
Make
as
our
we make our
payments
payments,
drop.
then next year's
Okay.
down 11 and then 9. Yep.
Okay. No, that's a number I was always curious about.
And then on this other sheet, I'll show you what we've all, in total, that we've ever borrowed and paid for, but this is what you have left.
Okay.
Does this include what we just did out at the casino?
Yeah.
No, we've been paying that out of the TIF fund.
Just paying or basically cash?
Oh, you mean your rebate?
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm
Yeah,
just curious.
we have a separate amount that's on TIF, and I don't know if it showed. Well, if you look to the next page, page 4, this is where we combine those three issues together, our total payment.
Yep.
And we see that it's all paid from the middle in the column is TIF. We don't have any local option sales tax, or if you go clear to the right, the debt service levy. This is where most counties pay their debt.
Correct.
Is as a property tax levy. In your case, you're paying it all from the revenues from the wind turbines.
Right.
So you have actually lower TIF or lower property tax rate than many counties who are servicing debt.
Absolutely.
Because we don't have a debt service, right?
You don't have a debt service levy.
Yeah.
It's being paid for with the TIF dollars.
Sure.
Okay?
Yep.
And then page 5, 6, and 7, this is the individual actual payments for each bond. The first one is page 5 is 2015 bonds. This is what we have left to pay on it. There's $6.5 million.
What, do you remember what that was?
This is for
Pre-me, so it's pre all of us.
Would that have been roads?
I would,
maturities on the economic development bonds with the 2011. This in here, I think, is out to the casino. Yeah, out there, because
I think that's the wastewater plant.
oh,
yes,
there you go.
wastewater
Yeah.
plant at the casino.
So that was like the last year, it was done right before I got on.
Yep. Okay. Thanks for that. Kind of curious.
Yep.
Well, I have the 2012 as the wastewater.
I was just gonna say that might be the 2012 because that just got wrapped up right before I got on in 13.
We did a bunch of roads right there.
Yes, I have it as the Urban Renewal County Road Projects bonds.
That's, yeah.
2010, and yep.
That's what 15
And
is.
there's a small portion that was called
838.
economic development bonds. We combined them together on this one.
Okay.
And I think it was a little portion out there that, did you have an incentive to the casino or something? But most of this is the road bonds.
Okay. I don't, there's any incentive to somewhere.
I would agree that the majority of it is roads.
Exactly.
Right.
And then the next page, 2014, these are road bonds. And you can see the rates on the 15 are 2%. Then when the next page, we are 1.5% to 2% on those. And then on the 2012 bonds, we're 2.6% bonds. And that's where you have a copy of this.
Yep.
Page, this one here.
Yep.
This here is these 2012 bonds. And if you look at page 2, the last columns, the savings, if we refinance today after all costs, it's $94,000 of savings, which is the difference between the old debt service, which is, the page we just looked at, and refinancing with new, which is the new rates. If you look on page 3, this is what we would refinance it. You can see we started at 0.45, we go up to 1.25. So, very aggressive rates for the market. So roughly we're just a little under $100,000 if we would refinance these bonds. So this here is sort of your whole picture of your debt book, where you're sitting, and what you got outstanding, and the potential for refinancing. Is there any questions of understanding anything on the big picture before we go into TIF?
Well, and I was going to say too that if we didn't refi the 2012, if you look at that, the one sheet that you have, that would be the interest that we'd save if we just paid it off instead.
So that's what I was gonna say, yeah, is it better off just to pay it off now, and then if we are gonna use new TIF in the first part of the year for roads or whatever, then you just redo it at the lower rate there too.
Right,
So
you're getting either way.
either way, you get it.
So if Rich has got a project, do you have any construction projects, Rich, anticipated in the summer of 21?
Yeah, that's this $2.8 million Highway 105 pavement project. That's set as local money right now, and obviously there's not enough local money, but at one time it was programmed to farm to market, but we didn't have the funding in farm to market, so we're backing it back out to local. Plans will be ready. I mean, it's a March letting for construction this summer. Don't know a schedule yet, obviously, because contractors haven't bid on it, but that, and we could always program more projects because there's plenty of roads that need work, but we just don't program them when we need them because we know the funding's not there. So we just keep kicking the can down the road like everybody else, until you're almost in dire straits. You try to maintain them best you can, but there's just, not enough. I mean, not only that, but we've got some small bridges we need to take care of that aren't part of the federal bridge funding program. So that's got to come out of local money too. Right now, our farm to market balance is, we can borrow up to 1.7 million, but that puts us 3 years in the hole, which is our maximum. That's not really that doesn't do us a whole lot. And even if we were to do something right now, it pushes other projects back even further. Our bridge funds right now are right about zero. We do have a 6-year borrow ahead right now, but that's $862,000. That doesn't get you a whole lot. But we were just also told here a couple of weeks ago that they might be putting limitations on that because there's not enough money, or there's more work than money. So, it's just one of those things where we just got to keep band-aiding things together, or just, until we find more money.
But do you have a list? Do you have a prioritization list of what should be getting done? Because that's what we need to know what to do with TIF money, because that's going to be available at once, and we're going to need to know how expensive your projects are. And
I've got my 5-year program, and I can, if we need to push stuff up, I can start slamming more projects in. I just can't get anything let for the summer anymore. I mean, we're about beyond, if we don't
further out.
Yeah, I mean, we can definitely have some more work for the next construction season, not 2021, but 2022. And that's going to be part of the, if we know we're going to be budgeting for it, then we need to start planning for it, and in the DOT and the county budget and program.
Jeff, could you maybe give a little, what do other counties do? How do they line that up so it lines up with the TIF funds?
Well, it varies from each county. Really, it boils down to what are the what's the immediate road needs that you've really pushed the can down the road that you need to get done. And that, those are the ones, and Rich knows, I mean, you got bridges and everything that's built up, but there's some that just need to get, they should have been done a few years ago. So those are, you sort of put those on top of the list, even though maybe your road use tax funds didn't have enough. Now all of a sudden, if you got TIF dollars, you catch up the projects that you need to get back to par.
Right.
And then you look at that road plan, okay, where's the next ones? And you start getting ahead of the game rather than most counties all throughout the state, with bridge and everything, everybody's behind 5, 10, 20 years of getting a project because there just has not been enough money to do roads. Well, a lot of counties that have been blessed with these wind turbines have been able to catch up on their projects. And so, it's not a standard answer, Jackie. It's really what are your needs? And that's why I wanted Rich on the conversation today is, okay, you've been sort of operating, Rich, where you got these funds that we're able to now, what, I guess in the next, month, think about presenting to the board to get caught up to par, these projects we need to get going if we do them in construction year 22 or 23. That's really what we want to know is what do you need to present to get up to par so that if we're going to use some of these funds and balances, they can start prioritizing. So rather than maybe
I can scare you with some big numbers.
I know you can
That's
because
what we need.
Well, yeah, I know. I mean, there are some roads that are, we've got some roads that are put out into the swap funding that we got put out a couple years later because we got to have the funding, in the swap funds to do the road. So, I mean, there's projects that are put out there that we got a lot of highly oxidized roads. They structurally seem to be okay, but they're not going to last forever. And each year it gets worse and worse and loads are getting heavier and heavier. We got plenty of miles to do. And I can definitely give you something in the next month about what we're looking at for priority, but I think it's going to scare you.
So, it's good.
Right now we're looking at 2.8 million, probably a little bit more because that'll really suck everything out of secondary roads for 105. I mean, if we could get $3 million just for that road, that leaves us with a little bit of a cushion in our secondary road fund. But there are plenty of little bridges we haven't even started design for because the money wasn't there.
Say the bridges, that's probably one thing that really needs to move up too, is a few of the bridges. It doesn't do any good to fix the roads if you can't use the bridge.
Exactly.
well, I guess why I bring it up, Rich, is, you talk about a scary number. And usually when you start talking this, it's not uncommon to hear anywhere from 20 to $40 million to get up to par. Right. And that's a realistic thing that, not that you're going to do them, but that's what that actually take.
Right.
When we look at the current TIF that's out there, plus these new 76 towers that's there, we're talking about roughly just shy of $40 million of potential projects. Now, I'm not going to recommend using 40 million, but so that gives you an idea, Rich, that there are resources if a project needs to be done. I'm not saying do something just to spend money.
Oh, sure.
Do something that's in dire need. So that's why I guess put your list together, get to the board of what's a realistic thing to get caught up.
Yeah, that'll come through in this budget session.
Hey, I got one more question for you, Jeff. The Highway 105 Trust Fund, I'm guessing we're not getting much interest on it right now. Would that be something to plug into Rich's situation on the Highway 105 finally, or is that something we should leave there for a rainy day, and because we've kind of borrowed against it and then put it back and stuff like that? But do we need to hold that there or not necessarily?
Well, I guess my recommendation to you is if you think interest rates are going to continue to stay lower and lower, go ahead and use the funds. But if you think they're going to go up, you bet your best bet is to leave them there and borrow. I mean, even this 2.8 million, it makes sense to borrow at 0.75% or less than 1, and then keep that trust fund building up for 5 years down the road when maybe inflation is out of control. Then you got cash. Then if you use this up and have to borrow at 3, 4, or 5%, you know, where you could lock this in now for, I mean, we're locking in 20-year bonds under 2%.
It's unreal.
And I can't believe investors, you know, that they want to buy them.
Yeah.
But so to answer your question, Jackie, is if we're going to go up in an interest rate, definitely save your monies there and be the same thing paying off this. If we pay off 2012, it would just make sense to know everything that Rich needs in any other capital projects to borrow it at these rates now.
Yeah. We're always worried about budget cushions, and you know, so that cushion is there, even if you're having a tough time with the budget. I mean, you know, and just
It's not in the general fund.
I know it's not, Jackie, but it's still an asset the county has. And
Yeah.
When you take your rainy day fund and you have to start using it and then it's gone.
then you don't have any, you better hope it don't rain.
Well, exactly. And not only that, that means that something else should have changed somewhere else before so that you didn't have to.
You have to use it.
That's a rainy day. If you borrow against it, put it back. It's been a good thing. And I would, the way interest is, I would just soon see it stay there as myself because interest really can't get much lower.
I get where you're
It can
going.
only go up, you know what I mean?
Yeah. You don't have to take on the debt with the road. I mean, you can use that, not take on the debt, but then either way, it's gone. I mean,
Right.
you know, so
Once it's gone, they're not getting it back.
no. Yeah, we know how that goes. Once you take it, it's gone.
Right.
Yeah, like the general basic trust.
One too, yep.
Yep.
So the other thing is, I mean, you know, I get around the whole state of Iowa, you look at courthouses, you've used this building about as efficiently as anybody could, but whether it's in the next term or 2 terms, I'm looking at a 10, 20-year period here when we start talking TIF.
Right.
You know, somebody at some time is going to have to do something with this building.
Yep. Someday.
It's either you repair or you replace. I mean, that's the reality of, you know, of the situation. So that's something you've got to look at in a big picture and how that affects your taxpayers. And so with that, I'd like to sort of shift to this single page right here, which you sort of, you know, what we build up to is what your current debt is, how it's paid. You don't have any debt service. This here, I know it's small print, but there's a lot of good information here, which is, this is your wind towers that we have out there now. The first phases 2 and 3 and 4, and then the 76 towers that are coming on probably sometime in 21.
Okay.
So what that does, if we look at that first column is a 0, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, and 30.
Yep.
That is the number, the percentage of the taxes that the wind towers pay. The first year they come online, they don't have to pay any taxes. Then they come in on second line at 5%. It ratchets up until they pay at 30%. That's the most, they're getting a 70% tax break. But that's the Iowa law. And so I've got that phased in. So then when you look at the first 58 towers, you'll see that first year they didn't pay anything. Then all of a sudden it ratchets up each year till they max out at $935,000 annual payments that they're making. The second towers, you can do the same thing. They ratchet up till they pay $1.6 million. Then if we go over a couple more columns, this is where the new 76 towers. These are projection numbers based on, because I don't know what their construction costs, but I got a pretty good idea. I've done enough of these. You'll see that that's going to build up, starts at 200 up to 1.3 million, which you'll see at the very bottom, those new ones would generate $17 million plus. And this is very conservative numbers. If you would amend those into your urban renewal plan. The first two columns, or the third and fourth, that 15 million and the 27, that's what you currently have in your plan, okay?
Okay.
What I want to do is, you've got the towers here. I'm not saying spend this money or whatever, but you got current debt there. You've got projects that are going to happen in the future, road projects, this courthouse. Your actions by a board, you have to get the amendment in the plan, start it from the beginning, and if you don't do it, you lose it. A board can't come back 5 years later and say, hey, I want to grab those towers and put them in there now. It's forever pushed over to the other taxing bodies. So all of my counties I'm working with, we amend your turbines in. I'm not saying pro build new turbines or not. I'm just saying of the existing turbines that are already here, get them amended into your plan because it broadens your base. You can see that where it says 2021, that combined TIF revenue column of all of it's right there in the middle. Combined TIF revenue down at the bottom at $61 million.
Mhm.
That is the pool of money that you have available. And when I look at this, I generally give recommendations starting, let's not go over using 50% of that. So that'd put us, even if we had 60 million, I wouldn't recommend it first unless we got dire needs going over 30 million. Well, we've already spent in the column in the 14, these other bonds, we got 11 million, 4 and 7. We've got 7, 18, 19, 20. We've already committed with bonds and interest $21 million, okay? So with that, you've got these new turbines. The thing that should be looked by the board is not saying, hey, we're going to borrow money right away.
Right.
We want to amend it in so that our foundation is a larger foundation so that anything in the future, if you want to do something with this courthouse,
Yes, sir.
then instead of having a property tax levy, you could use these funds and not have to raise taxes to do that. Same way on the roads. Does that make sense, Gary?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's really what I wanted to point out, where you're at existing. Then we show to the right the bonds that are the 2009, 10, 11. Well, we've actually refinanced those in the 15, but these are the original bonds that we've got. So we've committed 22 million. We have that very last column. If we would amend in these new turbines, that would leave just shy of $40 million as a foundation base. So when Rich starts bringing you projects in the next month or two, then all of a sudden you look at what you need for this infrastructure, the courthouse and any other items that are a need for this county, then you can do pros and cons against, okay, how do we want to phase in and start planning our projects down the road? And that's why first thing when I introduced to Gary is I says, congratulations, you're in a county that has a very good foundation. I would say 60 to 75% of the counties do not have a foundation like this. And so, when things, from the outside and the public, because I've been an elected official myself and I've been through this, and, until you actually get in and actually see what the numbers and do, everybody looks from their bubble of where they're at. But then when you start expanding it out, comparing it to what the rest of the world, you go, oh, we are a lot better than I anticipated, because we all have a negative thing, it's human nature, complain about this or that and what's not working right. And then you look at it and say, okay, what is working right? And that's what I want to do this morning. I talked with Jackie in detail and a lot of other things that I would like to bring up with the board sometime too. But today I want to lay the debt book, lay your foundation out, lay out your current TIF, and by amending in you know, the towers that are already, they're here, they're just not online. And so that's a decision by the board is, do you add that to your foundation? Doesn't mean you're gonna spend anything right away. That means you're gonna listen to Rich and look at this and say, okay, can we do it or can't we do it? You make those decisions, but when you amend it into your plan, you are not committing to borrow anything. It's just, what I say is sort of making a life insurance policy underneath of you. It's broadening that deal so that if you need to use it in the future is there. If you don't amend it in, like say, you lose in all of those, well, I say you lose it, you lose that ability of 100% of the funds. What happens is it goes into the taxing bodies. You'll be able to pick up about 40% of those dollars in the taxation. I'm a very conservative person. And so when I look at it is, I like putting it in here in this foundation because it only can be used by capital projects. If you wouldn't put this into the TIF fund and let it go to the taxing bodies, you create all of a sudden you raise up your valuations for your general fund. You got more funds. What happens is, I've been around city, county, school government. When the auditor gives the valuation sheets to the taxing bodies to do their budgets, they go, okay, here's our value. Now we figure out, we make our budget work with the dollars that are there. What's our 350 limit? Click, click, click. So all of a sudden you raise up this 350 limit and it's got a higher amount. You can spend more in the general fund, which then you don't have the, but if you want to do a project, then you got to tax in the debt service fund. Then you got to raise tax for that. But here's the catcher. If these wind turbines, and I live in the middle of a wind farm on my farm, you know, so I know what this is the impact. I've been working with these since, you know, the early 2000s. We don't know what the next energy source is. When these come off, that value is good. In the case of this, if we add it to our TIF fund, we're only going to borrow to the years that the TIF is there and there's lifeful use on the tower. When those end, our payments are done and we don't have any debt after that. If we keep it in the general fund, and all of a sudden we've created an expense level at the general fund with all that value, and in this case, we've got 200 million on just that one. When we do the rollback, let's just say it's a $750 billion. When those towers, if they, in 20 years, if they don't regenerate them, and they say they go to hydrogen or solar, and they don't redo them, that value's taken away. And then all of a sudden, everybody's budget who was used to those dollars, oh, you got to start making cuts that are tough. And so I say this is a very conservative way to operate, is putting it in a TIF area where you can only spend it on projects that you deem necessary. If you put it into the generals and the road use tax and all these, it's out there for regular operations. You got a question there, Mark?
So just adding up the number of towers here and stuff, the Bristol farm or Tafa wind farm was the first one here. There's 89 turbines in there. Are they still on here? And if
Yes.
not, I mean, when I'm totaling them up, we're short towers. I mean, what your projections are.
The very first ones, I don't think was in the plan.
They were TIF'd.
Were they?
They weren't in the plan?
It was after the time that we got it going on board. And that's why we're on phase 2, 3, and 4.
May I address that question, Mr. Chair? Cindy, you should have a sheet
From back in that time.
from back in that time that actually shows, it would look a lot like this, but it's a sheet specific to the turbines. And my information is dated, but in 2018, there were 229 turbines.
Right.
Not all of them were TIF.
This is the one I think you're talking about.
Yeah, got it right there.
This is the one you're talking about.
I
Because
think-
it's on here. They're on here.
That's it. I'm thinking they all were
The
TIF.
89 towers are on here. And my question is they came full value in 2010. So I don't know where they're at. And I'm pretty sure they were used for TIF. So is that Because they're about 20 or 21 years into their life right now, I think, it's 20 years in their life, so they probably reached their full whatever. But, so what's happening to that money?
Then it goes back to the taxing bodies.
So maybe it's not quite there yet, because there's quite a bit of tax money coming in from those towers. As far as, so that would eventually come in, once the debt service is done, then it'll come into the general fund, you're saying?
That could be your phase one that's not on this last sheet.
That's what I'm thinking.
Is these phase ones in any of these taxing ones?
Sure.
I can't tell by the names.
If it's not TIF,
Phase
if
one,
they
you're
weren't TIF,
looking
then
at
it
what
has to be
now?
in the.
Well, this is all of the TIF dollars you're bringing in on.
Unless they're all paid off.
Those
Okay.
first, is any of these that, because this is the $2.9 million that you're actually collecting.
Let me look at that.
You want to see this one? Those are the ones on the bottom. It's been renamed, 2 or 3 times. But those, there would be 89 turbines, and that's what's in the
Is that
area.
89 listed on that sheet there?
Well, you don't have a quantity of turbines on.
No, but is it in that taxing name?
Because the money's not coming into the general fund. That's what I'm.
Right.
Well, it would be creating your, it's part of partly where that can, back when I explained here,
Yep.
you've raised your value, you're over that median from 3.5 to
Okay.
5. You've actually got it in more value. It's there.
It just
In fact,
stays in the value of those turbines. It doesn't come into the general fund then? Or?
if we did not, I've got to think back to and I'm trying to remember, there was a reason that we started on phase 2, 3, and 4.
Okay.
And I just don't, I've worked with so many counties, I don't recall why all of those are not, because they're not showing up. We're only collecting 2.9 million, and that's partly, we're using 2.2 of it for our bonds, and we've got partly to do out at the casino area.
Right.
And then I've got conservative numbers, so we're padding, and Jackie, like I said, we've been putting aside $200,000 a year into this TIF fund. So
we do.
89 are,
I didn't think so they are not in the TIF being collected by the state of Iowa.
So what's happening to that money?
It's back to, it's in your values. That's the rural fund's getting some value. The general fund's getting, it's not lost. You're just
Right.
not getting 100. You're only getting about 40% of those dollars instead of 100.
Okay. I'm just curious because I've always, other than that sheet that I had there, it's,
Yeah. So
Okay.
they're not a certified TIF area.
Okay. And Rich did do a bridge and culvert plan for us in 2018. I think it's hanging on the wall up there. It was at one time, and we each had a copy. You probably have never seen it. But Rich, you had done a prioritized list of bridges and roads. You probably have in your file somewhere, or bridges and culverts, not roads necessarily, but there was some stuff we were looking at and talking about there going forward.
And that's, that's a few years old. Priorities have changed. So
Absolutely.
it's probably time to revisit and come up with a new
Right,
plan.
but that would be a base to start on, at least for bridges
Yep.
and culverts.
Yep.
And then the roads, what kind of needs to go, and sometimes bridges and roads should probably go hand in hand if they're both bad.
Well, you realize, and it looks now when the DOT or the feds have mandated the new bridge loading postings and things like that for special haul vehicles. So now it makes it look like our bridges are in worse shape than they are just because of these axle configurations on these special trucks. So now we get more bridges posted and everybody gets, what's going on with our bridges. Well, it's not necessarily the bridge's fault. It's the traffic that's going over them.
Okay, anyway.
Question I got, Jeff, is so when we were doing this development project at the casino interchange, it's pretty well done. We talked about the possibilities of just paying cash for it, which out of that TIF fund, and then also paying down that 2012 or whatever.
Yeah.
So where is that number?
Where's that fund balance?
Yeah.
I don't know, Jackie, we talked about that last week, Jackie. It's somewhere around
5 million.
5 million range.
It is.
She's gonna work and get in the details, but it's roughly in that $5 million.
Sure. So I mean, my thought is looking at saying if we paid that 2012 off,
Right.
paid that down. So we could either refinance and save $94,000 in interest, but it's better than saving $94,000 interest and not paying any interest at all.
Well,
Pay that off, and then
New debt.
you're able to start over. You've got some room to start over with something else. You know, like if we don't get the casino thing paid off, we're hoping that we get those lots sold, and that's all going to pay that back anyways. So, yeah, that's what I was just wondering, that number, where that comes from or where it's at.
so yeah, you do have enough money to pay cash for those. But that's why I keep coming back to Rich, and what he's gonna ask you is, you should, whether it's Rich's project of this $3 million or 2.8 or this refinancing, I don't know how long these rates will stay here. I guess what I'm saying is, whether you refinance and lock these in, if you pay them off, and let's say you don't borrow till next summer, rates, I don't know what they're gonna be. I'm just saying, when you look today, you've got the opportunity to lock some of this cash in at a lower rate. So by refinancing the 12 now, yeah, you could really pay it off, but if it's sort of like a hedge fund of, instead of rushing to borrow for a Rich's project now, you know, maybe you don't need to borrow that till next summer. We don't know what the interest rates. You could actually basically lock in that rate now in the refunding and then pay cash for his. It's one or the other. It's just, I guess as a finance advisor, I'm trying to protect you right now that you've got opportunity to lock in some low rates. And the 2012 is actually going out to, how many years was that? Out to 2029. So
And we
can
don't
lock
know what
in-
our bond rating would be either.
Well, on this issue, you know, I talked with you, Jackie, about
Yeah.
when we're about under $2.5 million and low as these rates, I actually showed you rates here that are non-rated rates, so that we wouldn't do a rating, Jackie, on this. If we did a rating, we could get a little lower rate, but right now, if you were borrowing $4 to $6 million, I would look at a rating. A rating is going to cost $15,000. You got to make up that cost from the rating agency. So what I'm showing you, Jackie, is not doing a rating.
Well, I just mean if we did borrow more, we would
Down the
need.
road. Yes, we do.
Yeah. It's pretty hard to fathom interest rates going up much in the next year because of, otherwise you know.
But I was trying to answer your
Stimulate
question,
the
AJ, is do you use this cash?
Right.
It's just, okay, you're gonna need some locked in financing sometime in the future. I don't know what that date is, but by doing the refinancing now, you could lock in those rates. Or you could pay cash and then gamble on when you're ready to do these projects with Rich.
Right.
And I don't think they're gonna run away one way or the other in the next 3-4 months. You know, time you get into budget with Rich, come maybe March, April, and he's doing construction, you wanna get money, that might be the time. It's been a crazy year. To answer where it's gonna go,
Right.
I can just say, hey, here's today.
Yeah.
And do you capitalize on it now?
Yep.
On the refunding, just sort of as a hedge.
Mhm.
I mean, if you just look at cash wise, I would say use the cash, pay it off. If you didn't have any other capital needs in the future, I'd say pay that off.
Yep.
But I see that you've got needs. It's just, so when do you sort of use a pro rata of locking in and at these kind of rates?
Right.
So
That answers it though. I appreciate that. I mean, that explains it a little better to me. That stuff is still kind of,
well,
gets my head.
but hopefully that, like all the data I gave you this morning, it's a lot of numbers, but hopefully it's concise and it's understandable.
Yeah, and that's having you sit here and explain I've seen these numerous times.
Yep.
And it's great. It really is great. But now that you explained it, I get it now. I get how it's working and what we're doing. So it makes more sense to me. getting the explanation face to face. I'm a hands-on person when it comes to that stuff, so, but it did answer my question, so.
Well, that's why I thought, Mark could call. I thought, it's a good time just to explain it. He said Gary's more than likely going to be at the meeting, and I appreciate you coming. I know it's a lot of information, boom, we go, oh my golly, what? But at least now you can sort of take these home and digest them a little bit and say, okay, as as a leader in the next 4 years, things coming up, what do I do? That doesn't mean I'm going to go out and, spend. Because you're going to be faced with the question sometime, it could be another natural disaster on roads, and Rich is going to come and say, hey, we had bridges washed out, and we got to go to town. And where are we at in a position? Then you go, okay, I remember that presentation. We've got a good foundation. Maybe we can use this now. You just don't, just because you got it, you don't go, oh, where's my wish list? Yeah. It's not, that's why I keep saying it's not a wish list. It's the dire needs of Worth County. And so that's why, you get an understanding of that, and you see, I've got a foundation to use tools. And another important part I think you need to look at, soon that first year, is amending in these current towers. That doesn't mean I'm pro towers, new wind towers are coming down the road. This is the reality of what's here today. Are we going to strengthen our foundational base of, basically the foundation of our county?
What's your time frame after a project is completed on capturing that?
Well, what you want to do is it takes about a 4-month process to get all of the legal descriptions and laying that base and where they're all at. And then also that's where Rich is going to come in, and we're going to put in the plan all of our future. So let's say Rich comes up with this scary number. I'm just going to throw $25 million out. You put that in the plan as we potentially can spend it on these. And you may want to, I look at the courthouse, and that's a political thing, but whether you want to put something like that, what it does is you make a plan. It gives you authority that when we put the new turbines in, here are areas that we can spend money. It does not force you to ever do it. It just says, now we created the foundation. Here are the leaders of our county said these are needs in the next 5 to 10 years. We put that in the plan, and then we hold hearings on those and get them adopted. So that's about a 4-month process, minimum to get done. So then when these come online, I take it there's none going to be turning January 1 this year.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
They got to be 100% operational.
They do, yes.
Yeah.
So it's either all or none.
Yep.
So if they're not going to be, then we would be ready with your plan, be done, amended in, and then come January 1 next year, when they got them in from the assessors and the numbers, it's all in the plan. We actually wouldn't borrow against or do anything in that probably till 23 to 23, 24.
Right.
But you have ability, when I talk about this 2.8 million with Rich, you have the ability to use that against the current foundation.
Right.
But you need to be thinking about as it's building, because you don't want to lose that foundation of these towers that are already going to be online.
And if we didn't have towers, we wouldn't have this opportunity.
Absolutely. There was a resolution laid out in 18 that specifically stated that we could use for roads and bridges and courthouse infrastructure, other county infrastructure. There's like 4 different categories that we could utilize different levels of TIF for. So,
but each year the legislators got tighter. Now you got to specify. It used to be when we first started these, way back, we just put roads and bridges. Well, now we have to. Rich has to say, Highway 14 from X marker to X marker. I mean, now we have to be very specific in our plan. We can't just say roads now.
Roads.
We have to identify.
So if he's putting a plan together, it should be Highway 105, Highway 14.
Yes, and how many miles are on there? Identify bridges that are needed to be done. So they have to be site specific.
Okay.
And a lot of that stuff gets put in the 5-year construction program. So, I mean, but you know, as I've told you guys, each year come budget time, that changes sometimes depending on how the conditions have changed for each structure or road. But, you know, we do have a I guess a really good start on prioritizing. But if we know that if we know we have some money, we can kick things in earlier than waiting 2 or 3 years out, if that's possible. And like I said, every year changes, you know, every 2 years we get bridge inspections and that changes things. And you just never know what Mother Nature's going to do to our infrastructure.
Bridge inspections again next year now, Rich?
We're good this year. So yeah, it'll be next winter.
Winter, okay. Well, we know we won't have any less.
Right.
Yeah, right.
Okay, well, any other questions for Jeff then?
I was going to mention too, you know, we've talked about roads in the courthouse, but other departments, there may be other things out there that still need to be identified just to give them a fair shake too.
I think we've asked for that before, Jackie, and we probably
Yes,
don't
we
have
have.
it. So, department heads work on that.
Well, the other big one that really works in a lot of counties is conservation projects. You know, pros and cons on conservation, but what if there's dire needs in conservation, it is a legal, legitimate way to use TIF funds if you put it in your plan. So that's just another area. I'm not saying you should or shouldn't, but
Right.
if I look at the main areas where counties are TIFing, I mean, some of them get very creative. But number one is roads, which is that's the common.
Right.
And then the second one is, it's probably a tie between conservation and infrastructure buildings. And then you get all the way down the line with individual projects that are pros and cons and political, you know, but non-controversial projects, I would say, there's always but I mean, as a whole, when public supports it, roads, needed infrastructure buildings that, you know, people need to use, and possibly conservation.
Bike trails fall under conservation.
It does. And bike trails are political one way or the other.
Right,
too. But,
absolutely.
But
No, absolutely.
Everything you've discussed. there's
Everything's
a lot of-
political,
a lot of
honestly.
politics behind all of it.
Roads can be too.
Yeah.
You didn't do my road.
That's right.
Me neither.
So this was really everything I wanted to sort of cover on a big picture today.
Yeah.
And, you know, take it home, read it, digest it. You got questions, give me let's see.
Be a test on it next week. See if you remember.
I'm going next week.
I'll quiz you.
Every time Jeff leaves here, it's clear as mud. And then it really gets muddy when he leaves, after he leaves.
Yeah, I'm gonna go out the car and get some, I don't know if people use them anymore, but they're sort of nice. I got some pocket calendars, new ones. You know, everybody's got electronic, but it's nice still to have that little one. I'll run them out, and they got my phone number on them. And I'll run out and grab those.
Perfect.
So that you got a contact information. If you wanna contact me, I'll get you a card, Gary. So you take these home and say, hey, this made sense, or this didn't make sense.
Give him a call.
Give me a call. I talk to a lot of supervisors all the time, just, you know, hey, I just need to bounce this off you. And so be happy to help with that, so.
Good.
I think I'm good for now. I mean, it's, like I said,
Appreciate you coming up.
yeah.
and explaining.
And it's something, you know, AJ and Gary both, you're thinking about after first year comes is this refinancing. You know, do you want to, you know, do that, or do you look at, you know, paying cash for it now and then, you know, working with Rich to maybe get something on the books, you know, with this project right away in spring.
Right.
So
It's
that's probably the immediate thing you need to think about is, you know, this cash that we got to use.
It's honestly a thing that should be on the agenda every year. You should be here once a year explaining, you know, go on the refresher course. It's,
Yeah.
I think just about ever since I've been, we've had you here at least once a year, and, you know, because we've had some stuff going on, and it's
And there's
always
some- yeah.
good to get updated.
And, you know, after, you know, you get the new board member on, you know, Jackie and I talked about some things, even, you know, the budgeting process, what she's got going.
Yep.
These TIF funds and TIF balances and your capital projects. You know, you're in a position that, you know, yeah, you can hire me to do some more specifics, but then you need staff that specializes in working specifically, that has time and ability to keep on top of some of the things we're talking about, so that internal staff can keep you abreast using your external, you know, to keep I can build a roadmap and make the big picture, but you need to be actively working internally with what the plan that we built.
Right.
So,
Good.
Thank you, Jeff, I appreciate it.
any other questions?
I'm good right now. Gary?
Okay.
Still does.
Kind of figured that. That's where I'm at. It's been a couple of years.
Taking a sip from a fire hose.
Well, you know, just the best thing to do is, as they come across, even what's gray, and sort of like just write down. I don't understand that, and so then all of a sudden you can come back and say, because otherwise you don't understand it now. A month from now you'll forget about it and won't even ask the question again. Well, now if it doesn't make sense, you know, go home today and write down all these things said today. They didn't make sense, and then maybe, you know, when you do get another board member in, maybe we can come back and say, hey, let's redo this again with the new member and talk about it and make sense.
I've heard you explain this about 3 times now. I mean, every time you
You learn something every time.
You
I
do,
mean,
it's coming a lot easier.
But to take it home and explain it to some of the non-participating people, it's really tough.
Yeah.
And that's why Zoom's actually good today. Hopefully some people were on there and listened, and, you know, and, yeah.
Well, good. Well, thank you very much.
Thanks again, Jeff.
Appreciate you coming
Appreciate
out.
it.
Good. Great. What did Ken pass suddenly, or did he have any?
Yeah, he'd been battling probably all year,
Any?
something, I don't know, and it's just, yeah.
That's some blood issues.
Kind of like the Energizer Bunny. Just
You know, I'd
money
seen him-
ran out.
Yeah, he was down at a
Yeah.
conference
Not long
last
ago.
spring. You know,
Last spring,
last
yeah.
spring
Yeah.
is when I talked
That's
to him last.
Yeah,
And,
he was starting to slow down a little then. You could tell it.
Yeah.
Just gradually, things he was saying. Yeah, sad day
it is.
to be missed.
Yep. Okay. I'm gonna get those calendars and I'll
Okay.
drop those out.
Thanks, Jeff.
Thanks, Jeff. All right. Well, very educational. I like that.
Yeah.
Jackie, was Ryan, doesn't look like Ryan was getting on today.
Yeah.
No, you guys just need to decide, basically.
On the insurance,
Yes.
to change over to the other plan.
I didn't get any feedback from a couple people, so I don't really know.
The feedback I got, and I understand, it was all the discussion of the employees'
Right.
contribution stuff. And I get that, and by doing this, we shouldn't have to change that.
No, that's not,
I mean,
that's
that's-
another issue that,
Right, and so to me, it's out there, where if we don't do this, we're not trying to save the county money.
exactly.
I mean, this is an opportunity for us to do that.
Did
And
you
I hope-
talk to other supervisors?
Put a couple out there, but nobody got back to me.
And did you read my emails from the auditors that,
Yep.
because this is a gamble, one way or the other. It can be a gamble.
Yep.
Can be, but I think it's the right step myself, but, and again, I'm not,
It's been talked about since I've been on and before I've been on, so it would have been a different group. I think it already would have been done before I got on.
well, if we'd ever had it really proposed to us, and it never really has.
Right.
Nobody's ever come back with a proposal.
Right.
We just always got swept under the table, so.
Yep.
So I'm hearing an answer. Is there a motion?
I'll make the motion to switch our county employee health insurance plan with group benefit partners.
I will second that.
There's a motion in the second to make that change. Is there any other discussion on it?
I just, it's the right way to go. I don't think it's gonna hurt us. it's really not changing your benefits, period.
No,
So
it's
it's gonna
not,
put some money back in the county's pocket that you guys can work with next year.
right.
Figure that out.
Hopefully, if we have a couple good years, we'll be good. I mean, okay, well, there's no other discussion. I'll take a roll call vote. Smithy,
Aye.
Stone, aye. That motion is approved. So Jackie, will you contact Ryan, I'm assuming, and let him know our decision? Okay. Still waiting on more stuff for the vacation road. Melissa was on, she
You want
had
that
to
off?
jump off.
You want that off to vacate the road or just leave it on there?
Just leave it on there until you keep talking to him.
Perfect. So, we'll be seeing Melissa on Zoom.
Yeah, we got the executive board meeting.
She was on there.
Yeah, she jumped off. She said, she sent me a message, said she jumped off. I had to. So, oh yeah, that was the only update. Just we got our board meeting 11:30 today, so. Jason, I didn't see him on there. I know,
She sent an email there if you look. You got
yeah,
that?
we're,
You still waiting?
thought we were gonna have that deed last week. It should,
Closer.
it's like,
It's there.
if I gotta drive somewhere and pick it up, I will. You know
Yeah,
what I mean? I'd
Well-
love to see that thing in my hands,
yeah,
but,
I agree.
so hopefully, and then Jeff did respond, hopefully this week, so.
Yep.
Planning and zoning appointment.
Did he?
Yeah, yeah,
Did he do that? I thought,
we didn't approve it.
okay.
So-
We need do we have a dollar amount to set it at?
Yeah, I
So-
mean, we talked about the base of 5,000.
Okay.
And with $18 an hour hourly rate, correct? Right to you, Jackie?
I think so. That sounds right.
That's, like I say, he'll keep a timesheet up to that 5,000. If he has a busy year, he'll send, keep timesheet and just report it to Shelley. At a rate of $18 an hour.
So put that in motion then, I guess.
Motion for Matt Duvay
Matt Dubay,
to take over as our planning and zoning,
$5,000 base.
or planning and zoning administrator.
Yep.
$5,000 base and $18 an hour hourly rate after.
Yep.
So that is your motion.
That is my motion.
All right, I will second that motion. Any other discussion? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? That motion will carry. Joel will have to get him set up with the zoning email, because there's a general,
So right now we have a group. So if you do like zoning at worthcounty.org, it'll actually go to 2 or 3 different individuals. So I just need to change who
Okay.
that group goes to. So
okay, yeah, just get him
Yep.
on it so that he can see it and he can start, you know, if there is applications coming in or whatever, he can start working on that and do most of the stuff from home.
Well, and don't shut Jeff off right away. I would say maybe they need to coordinate.
Yeah, I've talked with both of them, and we need to get together. We just had to make it official. And here in the next week or two, we can get together and, with Jeff and Matt and myself and, get that stuff figured out, get Matt all the books he needs and any info we can give him so he can kind of start going through that stuff, so.
I'll just need his contact information too, so that I'll talk to him, see how he wants things set up for phone and.
Okay, I'll give you his, I got his email and his phone number, so I'll get that to you.
Perfect.
All right, department head discussion. Is there anything out there? I see, recorder was okay.
No shit.
Dan's dreaming with the jail.
Yep.
We're gonna try, Dan, we're gonna try. Is there any other department heads that have any questions or concerns? I didn't hear any through the week, so.
I think it was recorded about being in the office there. What was the deal? on that?
Oh,
You wanna-
I mean, that's.
It's pretty much been come and go anyway. They don't read the signs anyway. So
Okay.
probably just take that thing off and hopefully they wear masks.
Well,
Yeah,
leave that
I'd say
one
it's-
up anyway.
it's your guys' call. I mean, you're
You're the ones here.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're not here, so.
Yep. So whatever you guys are comfortable with, obviously masks and all that's gonna stay in effect for quite some time, so.
I mean, I know there's counties that have implemented fines, I guess, for not wearing masks.
I don't think we're gonna get that crazy.
No, I'm just saying, no, I
We don't
don't,
have to.
no, I don't think we have to. I'm just saying that, you know, we are somewhat lax, but there is counties that have done that. And we're doing it here a week ago, so.
Sure. Okay.
We'll just need to make sure whatever Jake is doing is specified on the website so that people know and the public know if his is different or not.
Right.
I know his appointments only right now. That's the way they've been running.
Which he'd have the most foot traffic, so that makes sense.
Well, that's good that everybody has been kind of following the mask policy, so that helps. Supervisor Weekly, Mark.
All I really had was, I dealt with Russ on the drainage deal, but also had, they asked the CEOs of the Workforce Development Board to always zoom in on the local workforce development boards. And so I just zoomed in on a Thursday. They're struggling to find a service provider, so they're going to send out new RFPs. They're claiming there's not quite enough money there for that, but the money is what the money is. And so they're going to try to do that again, see what happens. But that's up to the local board, not the CEOs, thankfully. So we will have a board meeting Thursday, I guess, and you're always welcome. I don't know if you got any emails from them yet or not, Gary.
I have not.
Because I did forward on your email to the girl that does everything, so I can send it again, and maybe you can get the Zoom link if you want to sit in and listen.
All right.
And then there'll be another meeting. They're scheduling one for January where there'll definitely could be a joint meeting coming up for you. The local CEOs, which you are, and then the local development board, which is kind of leaders in the community, sometimes factory owners, things like that. They're the ones that sit on the local board and help with workforce development. So
All right.
I'll try to make sure that I sent it, so, but I didn't get a comment back from them. I might do it again. So that way you can maybe get a link on Thursday, or I can forward it on to you too. So you can hop on there. So yeah, that's pretty much my week. Other than I did sit down and look at IMW's website, IMWC's website for a while, and look at some of their safety stuff. There's some interesting stuff on there. So, and you can probably get a lot more in depth looking at that. So.
Okay. Good. I had a EMA commission meeting last week. And they're talking discussion possibly on a larger storage building for EMA, so they can get their trailer in there and store their stuff in there. There's also been discussion that Kensit's maybe looking to part with their community center and the land there, so that might be a possibility for EMA in the future. And if along with that, if ambulance service would come in, that also may be a possibility of where to put them, to put that service. So they kind of are getting a little bit of a wish list going, I guess, or a plan anyways to what the best would be. If they're going to send a letter to the city council of Kensett and ask them if their plan is to keep that building or if they would like to get away from it. And then start from there, and then also look into the possibility of putting up a new building. So, and they did have their budget discussion on it a little bit, and there's actually asking for less money this year. So I kind of enjoyed that part of the meeting. But we'll see how that goes once the budget stuff starts coming in. So, and then I was approached by a gentleman who's going to work with some landowners on a drip system type. It's basically they want to use the tile that's there, take that water and store it, basically, and use it for irrigation. And he's working with the landowners. It starts over here in the city limits of Northwood in the southeast corner, and then kind of heads south and east a little bit. The railroad track splits that district, so they're pretty sure that the landowners on the other side of the tracks aren't going to want to mess with that. So it sounds like it's probably going to be a private deal that they would pay for themselves. They've just got some issues with the extra water of where to dump it, whether it's going But continue to use the same outlet and maybe some road ditch. I've got to talk with Rich on that and get him in on the loop too, so.
Okay.
But, they've got a good idea, I guess, if they wanna, such landowners wanna get together and pay for it privately, that just makes life a lot easier on our end of drainage, so.
Okay.
We'll see what comes of that, so. That was about it for me, so.
Good.
Where's Betco today? Anything else that needs to go on the agenda for future?
I've been trying to add everybody that wants to have budget requests and stuff like that. I've been trying to keep it updated.
Appreciate that. This way we kind of know who's getting thrown at us or coming at us. And that, Jackie, that email you said that new officer school is going to happen, right?
Virtually.
Virtually, yes.
All right, I'm probably going to participate in it.
That's a good refresher for anybody.
Yeah.
And some of it clicks more after you've been at it for a couple years.
You know, I'm not new, but I'm only 2 years old, so.
You're just a pup.
Still learning. Still learning. Then, of course, I'll attend the supervisor meeting virtually too, statewide. So. Okay. Well, if nothing else comes before the board, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
I'll second that motion. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Aye. Meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everybody.